Howdy, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you watching right now, thank you very much for being here. And for those of you who are watching post, I hope you had a great Sunday. And again, thank you for being here. While I wait for comments and questions and stuff like that to come in, I just have a few things to ask, I suppose. The first one is there any content that you would like to see this week specifically, whether it's short or long form? Please let me know if you've got any ideas. The reason I'm asking is because usually on Sundays I go about and I sort of scan to see what people are after. Not only do I look at like places like Instagram and Reddit and stuff like that to see what are common questions, but I also look on YouTube to see what other creators are doing in terms of like topics and such and kind of see what I could bring to the table regarding them. And I gave up this week because honestly, seeing all the other posts and videos and stuff out there was just beginning to irritate me on YouTube for reasons that I've discussed in other lives. So I just gave up. I have an idea, but if any of you have some suggestions, I'd absolutely love to hear. Um, any of you who are interested in the scripting service that is now back in stock. It went out of stock yesterday because it was absolutely snatched up like that. It was unbelievable how quick. But there was a lot of people that only got the 1 day, so that's back in stock. If you're interested in it, it will be linked in the description of this. A lot of great reviews, a lot of great success. So check that out. And there was one other thing, but I completely forgot. So I'm just going to get into a couple of comments and questions because they've already come in. And if I remember, I'll make use of it in one of the sort of little break things where I wait for people to question. But Mike says, "Hey mate, good to see you. Thanks again for the help. Good to see you too, Mike. Thank you very much for being here, and you're very welcome. Always a pleasure to help." EG says, "What to do if super triggered by the 3D? Not the thing we are manifesting, but the 3D surrounding the manifestation, particularly family." So the thing to remember about triggers is they're perfectly normal, perfectly natural. You know, we are humans. Our human ego is linked to the 3D in one form or another. So when you are triggered, it's not like it's some kind of like devilish thing. It's not like you've screwed everything up and oh my god, you shouldn't be here. It's just a sign of your humanity coming through. Your human ego has seen something in the 3D that it's not a fan of and is using it to essentially alert your body and mind by putting you in that sort of triggered fight or flight response. So if you find yourself triggered by the 3D, it is merely just an internal sort of survival instinct, for want of a better term, to keep you away from those things, to stop you from being physically or emotionally hurt. So when you're triggered, just remember that it's not actually anything outside of you. It's an internal feeling. So therefore, it is your responsibility to calm yourself down. The way in which you do that is entirely up to you. I personally really like breath work. Some people love exercise. Some people will scream into a pillow. There's obviously a million different ways that you could calm yourself down or release those feelings. But the main essence is to allow yourself the time to release said feelings. So you're not bottling them up, you're not panicking anymore and such things. And then once it's done, you can either then review the situation in a sense of why has this triggered me and what can I do about it so that the next time I see it, it doesn't trigger me? Or going even deeper than that, why has this triggered me and what do I need to change up here so that this doesn't happen again? I would always recommend the calming yourself down to begin with, because trying to articulate and plan and adjust accordingly while you're in that fight or flight response, while you're in that triggered state, is never going to be done with enough clarity to actually make a good adjustment going forward. So calm yourself down and then choose to either go, what created this? What can I do about it so that if it happens again, sorry, why am I triggered and what can I do about this to stop it from happening again? Or why am I triggered and what can I do about this so that if it does happen again, how can I handle it? If you can take on those two things, then you are dealing with the trigger effectively. You're letting yourself release whatever the feelings are, and you're making it so that going forward, there'll be a different outcome or process. Now, the fact that you mentioned about it being separate to the main desire is, in my opinion, completely irrelevant. It would be the same process if it was the main desire itself or some sort of subcategory toward the desire, which is why I haven't really touched on the fact it was separation. It's a trigger. Everything that you experience is some form of internal story. Therefore, the way you handle it would be the same. When you says, "Hi Matthew, I watched your video about stop waiting. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was very helpful. I quite enjoyed making that video because obviously you guys know me. I tried to bring things in a different light, and I felt like I brought a different perspective on that one, so I quite enjoyed it." And he said, "But I don't know how to do that. I'm so sad. I don't know how to stop waiting. Just saying, what am I worried about already having in a relationship is enough without the feeling." So Yeah, essentially. So I was just rereading it. So, but I don't know how to do that, as in to stop waiting, and you're so sad. I don't know how to stop waiting. Just saying, what am I worried about? I am already in the manifestation. Is that enough without feeling? Yeah, it is. That's exactly what I do now. I mean, I had a thing yesterday. Essentially, I have a goal. I have a goal with something that I'm trying to achieve. And it wasn't necessarily a state of waiting, so obviously it's not exactly the same as what you're referencing here, but it's similar process, and it would still obviously, it doesn't really make a difference. It's mindset, and you're switching the mindset. And I realized something. I was like, oh, I might not actually hit that milestone this month. And then I was like, well, no, what am I worried about? What am I even thinking? Literally doing what I advocate to you guys, because everything I talk about, I do myself. It's not just like oh, here's what this other creators posted. I'm going to regurgitate it. Oh, I've read a Neville Goddard book. I'm going to regurgitate it. Everything I talk about is stuff I use on a day-to-day basis. So I was literally sat there thinking, I was like, oh, I might not actually hit this milestone. And then I caught myself and I was like, what am I even worried about? Of course I'm going to hit the milestone. And lo and behold, literally like what? When did I think that? It would have been sort of not long after Katie got home. So about 4 o'clock that was, give or take. And by 7 o'clock, the milestone that I was expecting not to hit, that I had shifted my mindset on, had a massive explosion toward it to sort of show the exponential growth toward that milestone. By simply just questioning myself and saying, "Oh, what am I even thinking about? Here's the new story." It made a massive difference for myself. And the milestone that I'm trying to hit has been continuing to grow ever since, like that moment. I didn't do that with feeling. I literally just caught it and said, "What am I even thinking? This is the new truth." And it was more than enough for it to clearly make a difference not long afterward. So, yes, doing it without feeling is absolutely enough. And for the other factor of what you said about you don't know how to stop waiting, one thing that I was thinking earlier, because I was speaking about this to a sort of friend slash client yesterday, and I basically was saying that I want to make my own sort of lifetime quote. You know how obviously Neville Goddard is still a very big factor into this process, and everyone quotes him and stuff like that. I was making sort of a comment that I should make my own quote so that sort of 60, 70, 80 years down the line, someone else will be referencing me and my quote. And I was trying to just have a little bit of fun and thinking about some sort of quote that I could make. And one of the ones that I sort of thought was kind of interesting, I don't know if it's not been made or not, it was actually just a fleeting thought, is when you're not living in the end, be sure to live in the moment. And it sounds kind of corny. It sounds a bit too woo woo for me, actually. So now that I've said it out loud, I don't really like it. But it still holds true. You know, live in the end. And when you're not living in the end, live in the moment. Because when you're living in the moment, you cannot be waiting for anything. And when you're living in the end, you're living in the thing you're waiting for. So if you can do either one of those, or if when you're not doing one, do the other, then there's no time for a space of waiting. You can't sit there and be like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. I'm engaged in this live stream. I'm engaged in the show that I'm watching with dinner or whatever, and wait at the same time because your mind is occupied on one thing. And simultaneously, you can't be living in the end, i.e., occupying the state of having your desire and wait for it at the same time. So if you guys like that quote, maybe start quoting me, maybe put it on other people's things and say, oh, hey, Mind Over This Matrix said, when you're not living in the end, be sure to live in the moment. But it's a very big thing. The only reason why we feel like we're waiting all the time is because we're not living in the moment and we're living in a space of, I just wish this would happen, or some variation of that. So if you can try that alongside doing what I referenced with the what am I even worried about, you're going to be all good. EG says, thank you. You're very welcome. When you say, so I just need to say it, I don't have to feel it like that. Yeah, and then you say, but what if I feel like I'm lying? Then carry on. If you feel like you're lying, that's because that is a lie to your subconscious mind. Therefore, keep going so it can become truth. One thing that a lot of people, I think, get a bit of misconception on, maybe, is when there is that resistance, when there is that feeling of lying, a lot of people will give up and be like, oh, well, it doesn't feel real for me. Of course not. You don't have the desire right now. So why would it feel real for you? Your subconscious mind holds one thing stored, which is why you're experiencing that thing. When you start telling it something new, you are essentially telling it all of that out there, everything that you have stored in here is a lie. So, of course, you're going to feel like you're lying to yourself. But that's why you need to keep doing it, because upon consistency and persistence, you make it true to yourself. Never at any point of any of my manifestations that have been sort of bigger than, that would be nice, have I ever affirmed to myself something and immediately felt, yeah, this is real? It's always taken that persistence. I didn't think I was with Katie when I was trying to manifest her back, in a perspective of like, it just felt like it was the case. When building my business growth, I never actually thought I was in the experience of 10K subscribers when I first started affirming it and so on. but the persistence in it creates that belief because you're telling yourself something over and over and over again, therefore aiding it in becoming an assumption. So if you feel like you're lying to yourself, that's actually a good thing more than anything because it's showing you're targeting the right area. If I say I'm in a loving relationship with Katie and I feel like I'm lying to myself, lo and behold, there's the reason why I don't have it yet. My subconscious mind doesn't assume it's to truth, assume it as truth yet, or hasn't stored as truth yet. If it did, it wouldn't feel like such a lie. So keep going anyway. Lisa Hutchins says, "Hi friends, found you a few weeks ago and it was the right teacher, right time. So appreciative and can't wait to see all this unfold. Your approach is calm, powerful, and makes so much sense." Thank you very much for not only the support but also the kind words in this live stream. I'm really appreciative for you being here, along with everybody else as well. And yeah, thank you very much for your comment. And then when you said, so this is robotic affirmation, but keeping doing it will make it less and less line. Yeah, exactly. You're robotically affirming it. You're just looping it over and over and over again. But with that looping over and over and over again, you are going to eventually absorb it. Now, I've used this example before. Um, I don't know when I used it. I can't remember when I used it. But the example of being stuck in a room with two guys that sell ice cream, if they're going to be talking about selling ice cream, even if you actively try not to listen, eventually, over an extended enough period of time, you're going to learn what flavors complement each other very well. You're going to learn whatever it is that they're talking about. You can't be in an area for long enough and hear the same information over and over and over again without eventually picking it up. Robotic affirmations do the exact same thing. The only difference this time is obviously you're telling yourself something about yourself, but it's only going to be a matter of time before it eventually does absorb to some degree. So just keep going anyway, and yeah, it's going to benefit you. EG says a positive self-concept makes it feel more real, question mark. I would say so, yeah, because, and the reason why I think this is, if I had a terrible self-concept, let's say I genuinely thought I was like just awful, I didn't deserve anything, I wasn't worthy of anything, and no one would ever love me the way that I wanted to be loved. Let's say that was my sort of rough self-concept. Trying to tell myself that I was in a relationship with someone who loved me when I felt awful about myself would feel like an absolutely ginormous lie. Because if I can't even see myself as lovable, how would I ever expect someone else to? Now, yes, you can still technically manifest while in a negative self concept, because as long as you're persistent and focusing on that end result, it will eventually impress. But A, it's going to feel like more of a lie. And B, you're going to be battling a lot more negative thoughts because of that poor self concept, which is often why, even though it is possible to manifest with a poor self concept, generally speaking, the success rate is a lot lower than when someone has a good self concept. And then on the flip side of that, if I genuinely saw myself as the best thing since sliced bread, I was worthy, I was deserving, I was the best man, I was the best, whatever it is that I'm trying to manifest, it's going to be so much easier for me to then reside within the space of, yes, this person loves me, or they want me, or something like that. If I see myself as like a god amongst men, then I'm going to find it hard to believe that someone wouldn't want to be with me. So, yeah, I would say that to a large degree, the better your self concept is, the more that you're going to feel it to be true. I'm not going to say 100% guaranteed because my self concept is pretty great right now, but there are still some things that I tell myself, and I have that little voice in the back of my head that says, maybe not. So I have to obviously persist in them. But yes, I would say since my self concept has kind of got to where it is now, I find it so much easier to reside within and stay consistent with things than I did when I had a poor self concept. When you says, I know I'll be okay without SP, but I oftentimes feel bored. I would feel my life be less bored with SP. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certain things that you just simply can't replicate when it comes to a relationship. You know, hugging yourself is never going to be the same as hugging someone else, or going to a dinner date on your own is never going to be the same as going on a dinner date with someone else. So I 100% understand that it may be boring now, or it would be better with SP. But the way that you should be aiming it to be is you should be as fulfilled as you could possibly be right now so that your specific person becomes a bonus, never the other way around, where your specific person is the fulfillment for you and then anything else is the bonus. Now, of course, I'm not expecting Katie and I to break up. And if we did break up, of course, I would be sad about it. But I can honestly say that if we did break up, my life would still be pretty great because of everything else that I have going on the side, the business, the gym workouts, all of the hobbies that I've got, the band that I've got, the friends that I've got. All of my pots are filled quite high to the brim, which means if one of them spills over, I'll be okay. That's where I recommend people go to. That's why a lot of my content is always based upon you should be the king or queen of your reality and they should come to you. Because in reality, you are the only constant variable within your life. You are only ever going to wake up and see through your own eyes. You are only ever going to be going to sleep, like sleeping in your dreams and stuff like that. You are the only constant variable within your life. Therefore, you should make it so that as everything as you can is as topped up as it could possibly be, so that the things that you have to look externally for, like, money, for example, or like a relationship, or like all of these things, is a bonus that just tips off that final part of your pot, as opposed to like fills it entirely because you can't fill it yourself. That's why the content that I make is very geared in the way that it is. That's why I don't do a lot of, obviously I have done in the past, because there are instances where it's relevant or where it comes up, but that's why I don't do a lot of those get your person in 10 minutes and then I tell people to affirm for their person 24/7 to the point where they want to blow their brains out, because that's not what I think manifestation should be about, and that's never the way that I've ever gone about it myself. And when I did go about it that way, okay, that was slightly incorrect. It's been a very, very long time since I've gone about it like that myself. And when I did go about it like that, was my least successful in terms of consistent successes and least enjoyable process of manifestation. Now that all my pots have filled as they could possibly be, easy peasy for me to manifest things, and I enjoy doing so. Chell says, just wanted to add, learn to enjoy your own company. Yes, absolutely. Challenge yourself to go to coffee, movies, dinner, etc. by yourself. It's a wonderful, uncomfortable way for you to express love for yourself. I couldn't agree more. There's been a few things that I've really wanted to do myself that I just haven't kind of got round to yet. I really want to do a long hike and then just camp on my own with nothing but like a notepad and a book or something to jot down ideas and just kind of see what comes to me. But yeah, enjoying your own company is one of the best things that you can ever learn for yourself. Not only does it teach you self-love because you're learning to be with just yourself, but it also teaches you self-preservation as well, because that way you don't rely on external factors to make up for what you are lacking. Of course, like I said, there will always be things that other people or other things can provide you that you can't provide yourself, but they should be bonuses to you, like I mentioned, as opposed to the completion or like the fulfillment of yourself. They should always ever be like a, hey, that's nice. I like the fact that I've got this, but if I didn't have this, I'd be okay. Or if I didn't have this, you know, it's not something to cry about, for want of a better term. So that's where I recommend people work to get to. That's where my coaching, that's where my videos, that's where everything that I do is geared towards, because I think that is, generally speaking, a much better place to be. Chell also says it's so important. Also, hi Matt, howdy, howdy. And yeah, you're right, it is important. So thank you very much for bringing that in. I still haven't remembered the other thing that I was talking about at the beginning of the video, where I said I had one more thing to discuss if it ever went quiet. So unfortunately, we may have a couple of quiet moments while we wait for people to comment, or B, people will comment and it won't be very quiet. But yeah, what was it? Can't remember what it was. I got a new desk. Just gonna talk while I do it. I got a new desk and it's so nice because I have more space on my desk now and it looks better. So couldn't be happier about that, because now I feel more professional. It's a nicer looking desk as well, so it just feels more professional. I feel real nice doing it. When you said, so Matthew, do you suggest I keep robotic affirmations for now every time the thought comes to me, since you know my situation? I mean, yeah, that would kind of be what I would recommend to anyone, really. Like I mentioned in my most recent video, the how to manifest video with the presentation, the way that I like to manifest is to be proactive and positively reactive. Now, proactive is when you take the time to do the work without any prior catalyst, i.e., I've just woken up, I'm going to get 5 minutes done. Or I'm sort of going home from school, I'm going to get 5 minutes done, something like that. But being positively reactive is where it's come to mind naturally, and you're just ensuring that it goes down the right path. You can use robotic affirmations as the way that you are positively reactive. Like I say in all my videos, it doesn't matter how you get there, the fact that you're getting there. What comes up doesn't matter, it's where you take it. So if your way of taking it down the right path is via robotic affirmations, then sweet, carry on with that, because that's going to make a difference for you. The main factor is that you are consistent with shifting your mindset. Lisa says, do you think recording affirmations and listening to them is as effective? Might be a little bit of a limiting belief here. So obviously everyone is entitled to their view on this. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. I don't think they're as effective. I just don't think that they're as effective as doing the work during the day. Absolutely a bonus to it for sure. I definitely think that doing them alongside doing the work is very impactful. But I don't think that you can listen to an affirmations tape while you sleep at night and think like shit all throughout the day and still get consistent positive results. I don't know why I don't think that. It's just never been my experiences that affirmations tape have really been that much of a saving grace when I've not been in the good space. And I think it's because obviously it's the state that you're in that manifests the thoughts and stuff that you do, the robotic affirmations, those kinds of things. They help put you into a new state. And I feel like affirmations tapes just don't really do that to the same degree. But when you're obviously thinking negatively and thinking, it's much more impactful when putting yourself in the state, which is why I feel like they outweigh. Now, if you are generally speaking have a good mental diet or you're doing well throughout the day, and then you add affirmations tapes on top of that, yeah, crack on. I think that would be very effective. But I don't think that they're a solid replacement for keeping an eye on your mindset and like not thinking like crap. I think if you're going to use them as a benefit, not as a saving grace, not as like a Hail Mary where I think like crap all day. I'll put a tape on at night and it will just make it all better. That's kind of like my view on it. Again, take what resonates, leave the rest. But I've never found that much success with affirmations tapes when I haven't been on top of my affirmations and such like that as well at the same time. So that's just why I have that view, really. But yeah, no, they definitely are useful. Definitely a useful tool. When you says, "Okay, thank you so much, Matthew. You're very welcome. I couldn't say this enough, and I have to go and go to the gym now." Very welcome. It's an absolute pleasure, and by all means, enjoy your time at the gym. I'm glad to hear that you're doing things to improve yourself, as everyone should be doing. So yeah, go have a great time, and hopefully, I'll hear some success from you very soon. Thank you very much for showing up to today's live stream. I can hear the baby crying downstairs. It's always uncomfortable when I'm like in a video call or doing a live stream or something and the baby's crying because I want to go down and help, but I can't just dip. So yeah, I don't like it. Cheryl says maybe a video suggestion: self-love and self-development. Interesting topics. The thing that I like about the process of manifestation is it's aided by those kinds of things. The things that I don't like, and again, probably another limiting belief, is the fact that most of these things aren't really accepted by the manifestation community all that much in terms of watchability and view time, which is neither here nor there because it just means that if I post it, it doesn't do well, and I'm like, whatever. But then at the same time, I took time to post it, and it's a pain in the ass. Like for example, not yesterday, sorry, the How to Manifest presentation took quite a long time to make, took quite a long time to record, took quite a long time to edit. I think in total it was about 4 hours, and it didn't perform as well as some of my other stuff because it didn't have specific person in the title and stuff like that. So you spend loads of time doing something and then it doesn't do so well, which is why I kind of stray away from certain video topics just because I know they won't do that well based on my current views of the manifestation community. But I do think self-love and self-development is one of those ones that might do well. So I'll add it to the list and I'll kind of see how I feel this week when it comes to recording. I might feel like super inspired by it and I'll do it. If not, it'll be something in the future. Brooke says, hello, thank you for the suggestion, of course. Brooke says, hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm late. I was finishing up a really good workout. Not a problem at all. If you're going to be late to one of my live streams, I definitely prefer it be because you're doing something to better yourself. So I'm glad to have you here now, and hopefully it stays, your future workouts stay the same. But yeah. Just waiting to see if anything else comes in. Still trying to rack my brain about what that thing was I was going to say. Just doing my head in. Oh, I can't remember. It's gone. It's gone. I'm just going to use this moment to sell myself then while other people like put comments and questions and stuff in. By the way, if you guys didn't know, and this is the selling myself part, by the way, if you guys didn't know, I do offer a membership tier, which is what these people, this is obviously for people watching it post as well. I'm not very good at selling myself. For the people watching this post live, I do have a membership tier, the gold tier, where you can gain access to these members only live streams. And obviously, as you can see, get quite in-depth answers. But on top of that, you can get a 10-minute call with me as well once per month. So each time the membership ticks over. And it can be really good for just a catch up or just like a bit of advice or even just a chat if you need someone that's into manifestation that you want to talk to. And a lot of people have really, really enjoyed the call. They find it to be very valuable despite being only 10 minutes. So I highly recommend you sign up for it. And it's only £17 per month, which getting a 10-minute call for £17 is a godsend considering most other coaches charge like £100 for 10 minutes. So it really would be worth you giving it a go. And if you're serious about manifesting your desires, it's the cheapest amount of money, but could really maximize your results. So I'd highly recommend you check it out. EG says what to do if what to do when the 3D is dismantling, shifting around for desire. What do you mean? What do you mean? What to do? As in, like you're waiting for it, or you don't like what you're seeing and how to handle it? Like, what do you mean when with like what to do when the 3D is doing that? Brooke says, I've been gaining major success and self confidence lately. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Thursday night, I went alone to a huge dubstep rave and felt amazing connecting with the crowd and met some amazing people. That's great. I'm really happy to hear that. I definitely think that being willing, sort of similar to what was said a few comments back, being willing to do stuff alone, even when it wouldn't be necessarily the social convention to do alone, I think is an incredible thing for self confidence, self assuredness, and self power, to be honest. So I'm glad to hear it. And EG says how to handle it. Okay, so how to handle when the 3D is dismantling, shifting around for a desire. You wouldn't handle this any different to how you would handle anything else. So if you have a negative trigger, let's say it's not for the purposes of dismantling, not to create sort of thing, and you have a trigger, the way that you would deal with it is understanding what's happening and how you would either handle it next time it was to happen or to stop it happening again. When the 3D is sort of destroying in order to create, you are essentially experiencing the same kind of outcomes, just with a more likely positive possibility. Therefore, if the dismantling is triggering to you, do what I just said a second ago. Understand why you've created this, understand what to do so that next time it happens, it doesn't concern you as much, or you can stop it from happening again. If you mean from a perspective of like waiting, i.e., clearly things are moving along, I'm just waiting for it all to sort of break down to create what I want to happen. Do then what I recommended earlier, where either live in the end, so you continue to show your mind, yes, this is the route that I want to go. Here's the end result. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And when you're not living in the end, live in the moment. Because when you're in the moment, you're allowing everything out there to formulate in the way that it should. Many of you, myself a million times over, but many of you have probably had experiences where you've been doing your manifestation work, everything feels so stale, and then you turn your head for 10 minutes, you get in a nice shower or something, you just turn your brain off, or you spend the night with your friends or something like that, and then that's when something comes in. That's because you've opened the floodgates. You're allowing things to finally flow because you're not being so insistent on it flowing. That's living in the moment, and that's what's creating, or that's what allows the time for it to create. Sorry. So when you find your reality dismantling in order to create your desire, keep showing it what you want it to create so you can ensure that it creates that. But additionally, when you're not showing it what you wanted to create, live in the moment so that it actually has the time and the freedom to create. If you can stay consistent with the two sort of methods I just gave you, then no matter what your 3D is doing to create your desire, whether it's destroying in order to create, or whether it's just taking a long time to get there and you're in that waiting stage, you will overcome and handle it effectively to guarantee that you'll get to where you want to be with as little of that getting in the way and screwing things up in the interim as you could essentially possibly have. Brooks says, this is a continuation. Brooks says, when it comes to SP, that self confidence went down. I'm confused. I finally posted a story and photo on Instagram after 10 months. SP checked it in 20 minutes after posting. Not sure how to think about it. Oh, I should mention SP doesn't follow me. So your confidence is great, but when it comes to SP, it went down. Okay, so that means that it's a separate issue. It's not a general self concept thing. It's a specific person self concept thing or a relationship self concept thing. And then you say you're confused because you finally posted a story and photo on Instagram after 10 months. So you finally done it after 10 months. And SP checked it in 20 minutes after posting it. And you don't know what to think about it. And he also doesn't follow you. So when it comes to not sure how to think about it, and the reason why I paused for a second there is because I wanted to tackle this from a, if I was in your shoes, how would I tackle it, as opposed to someone that's kind of used to being on the end of the successes with specific people way. If I was in your shoes, I would use this as fuel to show that things are moving along. I wouldn't get to the point where I'm like, oh my God, like look at this and telling anybody who'll listen, because I think then you're just creating your focus on him viewing your stories and such things like that. You're creating that separation because, of course, in your end result, him seeing your stories would more than likely be a normality. But I would definitely use it as fuel, especially if you find that your self confidence or your self concept regarding him or relationships is kind of low. The fact that he's viewed it positive, the fact that he's viewed it despite following you, even more positive, because it shows that he's searching up. It doesn't, or there's something to get him seeing your profile. In my assumption, it would be searching you up. Therefore, he has taken the time to actively type in your name, or at least go to the search bar where your name is probably already saved, and view a story. That means over the course of this period of time, he's probably been looking at you regularly to see if you've been posted. He's probably been keeping tabs on you. If it's within 20 minutes, the likelihood and sort of coincidence, obviously we know coincidences don't exist, but let's just entertain it for a moment. The coincidence of him checking your profile after 20 minutes of you posting for the first time when you haven't posted at all in 10 months is very unlikely, which means he's more than likely been searching you up. Therefore, these are all extremely positive things. So I would take that and run with it and use it as fuel to keep focusing on your end result. On the side of that, in conjunction to it, work on those self-confidence things or self-concept issues that are specific to a specific person. If you find like you've had an amazing success and self-confidence lately, but when it comes to a specific person, it's not so good, that means that the sort of standard confidence, self-assuredness, and all that lot isn't really the problem. And it's in fact the way that you view either the relationship, yourself regarding the relationship, or him regarding the relationship. And 90% of the time, when people view the other person to have a view, it's because of their own self concept. He's not ready to commit to me. Doesn't mean he's not ready. It means I assume I'm not good enough for him to be ready, for example. So take the two positives as positives and run with it, but work on your self concept regarding him, yourself and him, and the relationship dynamic to ensure that going forward, you will have the sort of most desirable outcomes. Hopefully that helps. And EG says, thank you. You are very welcome. It is my pleasure. EG says, can you explain the concept of birds before land? Thank you. So I don't know where birds before land came from or what it's meant to be referencing. I want to believe it's meant to be referencing either A, Noah's Ark, or B, is it Christopher Columbus, the person that did like the voyaging? If you're a history nut, by all means, correct me. I can't remember who it was. But it's essentially the idea of being out at sea for so long and you're seeing birds, because usually birds indicate some form of land within a reasonable distance. If it's like out near sort of bodies of water, usually, I think. That's at least what the sort of terminology is meant to be referencing. So the idea of birds before land is essentially letting these ships know there is land ahead. There is a destination ahead. You're going to get there if you keep on this path, or this is evidence that the path is ahead, sort of thing. So when you see birds before land in the manifestation perspective, it's usually some form of sign or movement to suggest that, hey, keeping down this path is your land. These are the birds to suggest that the destination is nearby. So that's kind of, it's a very simple explanation. There's not really much that I could say in terms of depth, but the concept of birds before land is, hey, this thing in your reality is suggesting that if you keep down this path, or the 3D at least keeps down this path, then your destination is ahead. Just like the ships would see birds and say, hey, that means that there's land nearby. Keep going, we're almost there, sort of thing. Essentially, is that it's a sign to say, keep going, you're almost there. But I'm not sure exactly where the term comes from in terms of like A, who even sort of formulated it as a manifestation term, but also B, exactly where it comes from in terms of a statement or an analogy, I suppose. I think it's the Christopher Columbus. I think it's Columbus. No one's corrected me yet, so I'm going to say that's a good sign. There's probably Columbus. But yeah, that's essentially what it means. Movement or signs. I'm really hungry. I can't wait to go eat. I haven't eaten in a while. I've been working all day, which is nice, but it just means I don't eat very much. Probably going to give it a few more minutes, and if we don't have many other comments or questions, then I'll probably leave you guys the rest of your day, because obviously I don't want to have too many sort of big periods of no talking, because A, it's obviously not fun for people watching this post, and B, keeps you guys away from the rest of your days. Brooke says, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that you take the time to understand our questions. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. And then you say, I don't know if it fed my ego that he saw it because it felt good and that he still cares. I'll continue to go with that and build. It doesn't really matter if it fed your ego. The human ego is, the thing with the ego is, like, even though it's got a negative stigmatism behind it, a lot of people are like, oh, he's got an ego, she's got an ego. People with egos, generally speaking, have more successful lives than people who are timid and passive. Someone who is willing to assume that everybody likes them will have an experience more likely to that than the people that are unwilling to assume that everybody likes them. Now, obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are pleasant to be around. But if you think of like most of the most arrogant sports people, just as an example, just because it's probably the one that we could all sort of agree with, they are arrogant to a degree that it can kind of be insufferable to watch, and yet they have such a massive following. And it's like Conor McGregor, perfect example. In terms of his attitude, in terms of his ego, he was kind of insufferable. But yet he is one of the most, or at least was one of, I don't know if he is anymore, I don't really follow the UFC, but he was one of the most talked about UFC fighters. Everybody wanted to watch Conor McGregor. Every sort of like teen was referencing or pretending he could fight like Conor McGregor and stuff like that. Despite having a massive ego, he was highly liked for it. So when you do have an ego, when you let things fuel your ego, that's not a bad thing. You can allow yourself to have an inflated ego, and in fact, it probably does benefit you more than it does diminish you. Obviously, don't let your ego get to the point where you are insufferable directly to people. Don't be a dick to people just because you feel like you've got an inflated ego. But sitting there going, "Hey, yeah, see, he still cares about me, still interested." There's absolutely no harm in that because all it's doing is just stating a new state of mind to your subconscious mind in order to create it. It wouldn't be. Oh, what's up? I'll come down for it in a minute. Thank you, though. It wouldn't be an issue. I kind of forgot what I was saying. It can only be ever. Apologies if I go back over what I said. I obviously I'd forgotten, but it's never an issue to allow things to benefitly impact your ego. The only time it becomes an issue is when you are directly a dick to other people, because then you're just being a horrible person. But sitting there with an inflated ego of like, oh yeah, of course, why wouldn't he check my social medias? I'm the best thing since sliced bread. That's absolutely fine. I mean, when I started getting more business success, I could definitely feel it going to my brain a little bit. I could definitely feel myself sort of walking with a bit more of a swagger, thinking like, "Oh, hey, look, got more money," and yada yada yada. But on the flip side of that, I was tipping people more. I was lending people more. I was buying other people more gifts. So even though my ego was inflated due to the increase of money, it actually benefited myself and the others around me. So having an inflated ego isn't a bad thing as long as you direct it in the right way. Apologies if I repeated myself there, but hopefully at least it gave you a good indication. The only time the ego is ever a problem is when it's working against you. Like as in like the human ego, not the stigmatism of ego, but the human ego. When it's working against you because it's trying to pull you back, that's when you got to make sure that you grab the reins and take it forward. But allowing yourself to have a bit of an ego, not a problem. I don't think anyway. Obviously, there's probably people out there like, oh no, you should be a passive and moral person. And no, there's no virtue in being passive. I used to be quite passive, and it like now that I look back, it makes me cringe. Brooke says, I understand where you're taking that. Sounds like ego can be tied into self-image. Yeah, exactly. They do pretty much go hand in hand. If you've got a better self-image, you probably have a more of an inflated ego. If you have an inflated ego, you probably have a better self-image. They kind of go hand in hand. So I don't, like I said, I don't think that it's a bad thing. And I think that if something positive has happened that fuels your ego, let it. It's only going to impress your subconscious mind more with those positive things. So walk with that swagger. Hold your chest held high. Hold your chin up and go, yeah, look, he checking my stories 20 minutes after I've posted them. He's absolutely smitten for me. Why wouldn't he be? Because look at me. And then, hold yourself in that manner. It will never be a negative. I probably shouldn't have refused the drink. I really need it now. One of the problems about being a metal vocalist, and it might have been due to the fact that I kind of maybe started out wrong when I was practicing, but I find that because of using my vocals a lot and the false chords and stuff like that, and the vocal cords a lot, I find that when I talk for too long now, it kind of gets a little bit too, like, it gets like really hoarse and dry. I don't know if that's just standard amongst people, but I've only really noticed it since doing a lot more vocals. So yeah, I might have buggered myself on that one, but it's all right. Go downstairs, hydrate, and it'll be all good. But yeah, I'll give it a couple more minutes. If there aren't any other questions or comments, then I will leave you guys to the rest of your days because obviously we all want to enjoy our Sunday night and I am starving. So I'm going to go make some food. Brooke says, haha, because I'm an amazing and his dream girl. Yeah, absolutely. It's only going to benefit you. So 100% hold that in mind. I say that kind of shit now. I obviously it's all in sort of a joking manner, but I'm constantly like joking to Kate, even like, oh, what would you do if I left? Not like that, obviously, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of like, where would you be without me kind of thing, which is all in jest, but it is also true. We've built a life together because of the value that we offer each other. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't allow myself to see myself in a better image. So, take it where you will, take it how you will. I'm gonna die in a minute. Oh yeah, I remember what the other thing that I was going to say was the new members only video. The self improvement one is up, and it is the three powers of action, which is willpower, discipline, and motivation. The differences between them and how you can use them and build on them to help your whatever it is that you're trying to do, essentially. And the manifestation one, which will be going live pretty much as soon as I've done this live stream, because I just needed Katie to do a thumbnail, to which she's done, is stop wishing and start claiming. Because I've had a lot of people messaging me things like, I just wish this would happen. I just want them to do that. If only they could do this. And it's something that I need to reiterate. So if you're interested in either of those videos, obviously in the link tree, which is in the description of this, the uh, bio on my Instagram, the bio on my TikTok, pretty much everywhere, head over to the membership on that link tree, sign up for the necessary tiers, and go and gain access to those videos, as well as all the other ones. Obviously, I know that people watching this live stream right now will have access because you are members, but this is just like for the people watching this post. But yeah, so check that out along with all the other amazing videos that I have, like how to overcome the ego, the full Manifest Your X Back mini course, and such things like that. Yeah. Well, it's been a few minutes and no one has said anything since. So I'm going to leave you guys to the rest of your day, just because obviously I don't want to keep you all here when there's not really much conversation going. So thank you all so much for joining today's members only live stream. I really hope it's been good. I feel there's been a lot of really good questions, really interesting questions as well. And hopefully I've given you guys some sufficient answers. For anyone that wants to be part of the next members only live stream, sign up for the gold tier on the membership and you'll gain access to it, as well as the 10-minute call. Grab the assistant service while it's still available, because they sold out so fast. I'm pretty sure I only put them up for about 45 minutes before I had to take them down again, because, well, I say 45 minutes from the perspective when people started buying them, because I think it took a little bit of time for like people to see my YouTube post and then start buying them. But from the sort of time when people started buying, I'm pretty sure it was only about 45 minutes, and then I had to take them down again because they just went out of stock so fast. They're currently in stock now. So if you're interested, I would get there while you can. And the great thing about it is, as well, is they're per person, because I can take on people as opposed to quantities of it. So if you want to purchase 20 days, you're free to do so. Doesn't matter. If you are a person buying it, you only class as one stock worth, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So yeah, grab them while you can, and I will see you guys very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye-bye. Now I do the awkward thing where I turn it off.